Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome again. Welcome back to another Mindset Mastermind, our daily dose of inspiration, motivation, a whole lot of information in this wonderful content we're working on so we can get our heads right for a day of perspiration and getting into high activity. And man, inner excellence, this very first chapter, I think we're going to be talking about for 2 days on the pursuit of more. And just so many amazing chunks in here. I am almost out of ink in this highlighter, about to buy a new one. And as always, guys, it is your room first and foremost. I'm finding it intriguing that we're getting into this deep content and we're dealing with 17 people instead of 30. Very interesting that maybe people are getting challenged and not leaning into the challenges. That being said, I want to hear from you guys first. Brittany, you are top of my list here. So by all means, what did you pull from the content?
Good morning, guys. My favorite thing about chapter 1 is on page 15, where it says, the greatness lies in the person you become, the one meant to make a difference in the lives of others, the one who sacrificed themselves to learn and grow and become someone they never knew they could become. I think that is that Caesar? You highlighted that too. I think that just speaks to the book that we just went through and the changes that we have made already. I notice a difference in myself, in a morning routine, in all of these, kind of day-to-day activities because of the sacrifices that I am making. And I've just had like the busiest long weekend of my life. And I attribute so much of it to like getting off my ass, getting back to the database, making the list, doing the things, and it feels really good.
So think about that. You had the busiest, most intense, longest weekend in a long time, and it was fulfilling.
Absolutely. It was so good.
Being in the activities, doing it, enjoying the journey, a big part of this content of it's not about, okay, this weekend got me X number of pendings and Y number of pipeline. It's this weekend I was fully engaged and living what I have committed to be a part of. How cool is that? Thanks, Brittany. Tom, I saw you were also up. What do you got, my friend?
Well, I'm not as advanced as she is. I'm going to go from page 5 instead of 15. Authenticity. I mean, all of this, if I didn't control myself, I would have highlighted everything. Yep. And Doug, the very beginning of this chapter reminded me of, was my perception of you, whether you receive it or not, is that you just got this piece about you and confidence. But a couple of things that I highlighted in here were the German word Gemeinschaft, which everybody, learned in first grade. Belonging is a fundamental human need. That's certainly one of mine. I've got the speech that I had talked about coming up in March. And one of the things that they have you do, there's a book called, another book called, it doesn't matter what it's called because I can't think of it, but you determine what your values are. And that's one of my core things, is knowing that I belong. The next thing, which is actually on page 5, selfless actualizers are motivated to fulfill their own inner potential rather than society's external rewards. And so that speaks obviously to this book, but it also speaks to the last book, Ninja Selling, which talks about appreciate the master for who they are and appreciate the process that you're going through, because the growth that you're having. And I got to tell you that if you want a humbling experience in your 50s, or whatever age, go join martial arts and Krav Maga and take it with the older people are cops that are just totally destroying me. And then the younger people are these 10 to 16-year-old kids that are like, no, sir, it's like this, sir. And it's such a learning experience that I don't even pay any attention until I'm talking about it. And finally, in the pages that follow, you'll learn how self-centeredness leads to fear, and similarly, how selflessness leads to fearlessness. So when we're coming from contribution, or when we're continuing to be curious about life and about what we're going through, and how sometimes we're on a wave of lead generation and then we fall off, and then it gets, I think by the time we finish this book, it may not be easier, but we may be more willing to actually step in and take things the conversations that we had and go, oh, I won that one on one extreme, or wow, I just got my butt kicked. What did I learn? This book is very exciting also.
Well, this fun section that you hit just 2 of the 9 bullet points. I want to kind of back up just a hair, because what he's writing about is another psychiatrist research on highly, highly successful people. And they shared a number of common traits. And he labels them traits, and yet I'm going to challenge everybody. They shared a number of common belief systems they built. They weren't born with these. They actually put in the mental work to create these. And they included a strong sense of self, which some of these outline, a close connection to others, and both the curiosity to solve problems and the resourcefulness to do it. They had high self-acceptance and were very motivated to have peak experiences. These high achievers selflessly pursued a purpose beyond themselves. These are just a couple of traits that he brought in, this German word, and he talked about the second half that means fellowship and community. They were plugged in. Here's the fun part for me on this 4th trait, Gemeinschaft.
You betcha.
That's what you guys do here every single day. I mean, I've heard so many people say, this room, I feel more connected to people I've never been face-to-face, belly-to-belly to, than the people I used to be face-to-face, belly-to-belly to. So with that being said, Carrie,
so exactly what I was going to talk about. So I want to read it and then just make a comment super quick. So you were talking about the common traits. So, and that's on page 3, at least that's what I was looking at. So the common trait, it says Thomas Jefferson and Albert Einstein, they dreamed of how they lived. In doing so, he found common shared traits: a strong sense of self, a close connection to others, the curiosity to solve problems, the resourcefulness to do it, high acceptance of self, and motivated to have experience. So what I wanted to say about this, and then it talks about self-actualization, is that for the self-acceptance part, this is like in a way, I don't know if everyone will be able to relate to this, but so in a way, we all are perfectionists, right? Because if we weren't, we wouldn't self-sabotage so much all the time. So I think what's really important to learn about the self-acceptance part is that no one's flawless. Nobody in the whole entire world is flawless. And that we just need to find a way to accept that and keep moving forward. To know that there's reasons that you do the things you do and the things that you don't, and it's okay. It's okay. It's part of who you are and why you are the person that you are. And there's only one of you for a reason.
So true.
The only thing I want to add to that, Carrie, it's also part of your learning process, because whatever you're expressing at this moment may not be serving you. So I don't want anybody to lock into that's just the way I am, because you're not a tree.
Yes.
You get to pick up and move at any time and become something different. Client, I see your mic's hot. What else do you have to add? And then Jeanette, you're on deck.
So I like that point, because that goes into what Tom was talking about before. Tom, you spoke about appreciating the process. Let me take that further, because appreciation speaks to, oh, okay, I can appreciate that. It's the acceptance of the process that is even deeper, because that goes beyond simply saying, ah, okay, to I am now past acceptance. I'm sorry, past appreciation. I am now in acceptance. I am internalizing it. Does that make sense, Tom? So I wanted to just kind of move past that and go dig a little deeper into that process. Go ahead, Coach.
So,
You were about to
Clyde,
say
with
something.
that being said, which one of these 9 bullet points right from the content takes that to even the next level?
Can't speak to that right because I haven't gotten to that point.
So,
But
page 4, number 5, gratitude. That's really this, not just acceptance, not just going through it, being truly grateful for it. These folks have the wonderful capacity to appreciate again and again, freshly and naively, the basic goods of life with awe, pleasure, wonder, and even ecstasy. However stale these experiences have become to others. Thus, for such a person, any sunset may be as beautiful as the very first one, any wildflower as breathtaking, even after viewing a million wildflowers. For
but we
such people, even the casual workday, moment to moment business of living can be thrilling.
and we call
How
those people crazy. You know, those are the nutty ones, the ones that walk around. You're always so happy. Well, what's going on in your life? Why do you act like that? Don't you know that the sky is falling? You know, and it's like society makes us who work to that towards that us like we're crazy, and we're not. No, you're crazy because you're walking around acting like the world is falling on you. That's just me.
what
This is my perspective.
it's all about you guys choosing, and everything we talk about is a choice. That you're going to be grateful for everything. So again, Brittany, since you're putting in these changes, I told you guys before, and I'm just going to crack open any page. Gratitudes. Every morning, starting with I am full of gratitude for blank. I write a minimum of 5 every single morning, start my day off with written gratitudes. How many of you, and it's fun because we have an accountability group in the morning for recruiting. And one of the things we do in that room is our gratitudes. And I can always tell those that are writing them and going through that exercise of pen to paper permanency, and every single day different. So I get to be grateful this morning for these wonderful Mississippi plastic cups that I can't get here in Puerto Rico. How cool is that? I challenge you guys to really lean into this gratitude piece. Jeanette, you are next. And then I see Josh and Celeste.
Earlier, we were talking about being a perfectionist. I've had fun realizing that a perfectionist is, you can never arrive. I've offered to people, I said, so why don't you just be an excellentist? And so I'm working at being an excellentist. I have hope on that one. I can always have hope on that. And that's where we're here. The perfectionist, I know I can never arrive. Therefore, it's always a judgment against myself. And then on page 9, Dr. John Piper, the theologian, your deepest desire. And he has a prayer, a phrase, oh God of wonder, enlarge my capacity to be amazed at what is amazing and end my attraction to what is insignificant.
Yeah. And there's so many things to be amazed by and again, be grateful for. They all interlink and are around us every single day. Mr. Josh, great to see you, brother. What do you got?
It was interesting when client was talking about how you do have some people that you deal with. Well, glared out, I guess. You do have people that turn things upside down and get crazy. But I enjoyed reading about where he was talking about in other cultures, like in Costa Rica, dentists and taxi drivers, doctors and garbage men, right? Everybody's equal, all forms of life, all trades. And I think sometimes in our industry, people can feel like they've kind of jumped out of that all people are equal. But sometimes it takes rolling up your sleeves and doing things that your clients would never think you would do, and showing a gratitude to serve, I think humbles you and allows you to relate with people on any level. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got a client that I worked with last week that I love looking at $550,000 to $600,000 homes. And that makes it sometimes easier. But I truly like and have a defining change in me when you get to sell that first time buyer $195,000 house that really is going to change that person's life, going to change that person's direction, where they're going. And I think you've got to be able to do both, and you've got to be able to relate to any and all sizes of people. And it seems like it's a lot easier in other countries, but it'd be nice to make that change here, that it's easier for all of us to do that here.
Yeah, we've got so much cultural striation that we have bought into and that we even maybe played with in high school, where, you know, we went into all these cliques and different groups. And I love the idea of us all just treating each other like the unique individuals. We're all the same because we're all radically different. How much fun to play in that space. Sarah, I've got you, and I see Caesar and Mark also in there.
Yeah, so I was reading part about the affluenza, and I was thinking to myself, I don't care about possessions and these things that they're listing out here. I'm one of those people. I just want to be happy. And I'm like, so where am I in this picture? And then I did finally get to that part. And I'm glad, because I needed that. And I have several things highlighted here. Right before on page 11, right above pursuing ghosts, you might say, I am my own person. I don't have any attachment or thing I'm addicted to. I just want to be happy. But then a couple of pages further in, he says, defining that concept of happy is actually difficult. So we're not very good at knowing what makes us happy, let alone how to feel truly alive. We want real and lasting joy, peace, and fulfillment. Yet every day we are presented with potential shortcuts that undermine this pursuit. So this part is really speaking to me, because now I know what my end goals are, what would make me happy, but I think I need to further divide. It just puts a spotlight on it. That's all.
Yeah, and again, as Jeanette brought in the room when she was talking perfectionism and what the materials talked about, the end goal should not be the focus, the journey to get there. So like in my large personal goal statement, it talks about the number, but it says, now here's how I'm going to do it. And it's by helping 9 other people get to 5 figures a month. And I got my 9, and they're going to be my 9. And I'm just going to pour into those people to get them where they want to go. That journey, making it more than arriving at a goal, making it more than about yourself, will actually give you a much higher level, not only of success getting there, but of joy on the route to get there. That being said, Mark, your mic's back up. What do you got, brother?
So speaking about the joy and the journey, when Brittany spoke, she was talking about, and I don't know how she exactly worded it, but she said something about getting her ass kicked, but in a good way. And she enjoyed the process because it was based on her ability to stir up this action and put herself in that position. And one of the things that Larry talked about was not only what are you grateful for, gratitude, but he also talked about affirmations, meaning starting to rewire your mindset so that you can put yourself in a position of joy in the journey, even though it's not necessarily fun. In fact, if anything, he would say you need to be uncomfortable during that journey. And there is joy in the uncomfortableness, and we have to rewire our minds. And one of the things I wrote last year when we started this is that my church has this saying that we're unoffendable, meaning based on your relationship with God, you have such a strong relationship with God that nobody can say anything to you that offends you because God made you perfect in his eyes, right? So I said, okay, I love that. So I started writing that down, right? Whenever you make a change in your life and you say, I'm going to start changing these things, you are going to be tested, just like Brittany found out this weekend. She got tested and she took that test and got her ass kicked, but it was in a good way. So that was a positive for her. So when you make a decision to say, I'm going to start doing these things, just know you're going to feel the opposition. The opposition is where the learning is. And we need to smile like Brittany has on her face right now that I went through this. Yeah, a bunch of crap hit me. I was freaking busier than I've ever been in my career, but I did that. I put myself in that position and I accepted it. So she just started building the first building block in her foundation of putting herself in an uncomfortable situation. And it was done by her doing. She did that. So it wasn't exterior coming into her world, making it uncomfortable. She put herself in that position. And I'm redoing my affirmations on a regular basis for that same very reason. But I want you guys to know, when you make that decision and you put that in the ground, I'm going to do this, you will be tested. And it's a good thing.
Well, and I love, Mark, from your pastor, I am unoffendable. That's one of my absolutes in my world of no one can offend me. I can only choose to be offended. Ties into the same thing. Anytime you have that response, that's your choice. They didn't do anything. They just, as we learned earlier in the content, did the best they could, what they had in the moment.
Can I share a story with that real quick, Coach?
Go for it, Mark. And then
So I wrote that down. I'm unoffendable. I'm unoffendable. I'm working with my best friend. He gets remarried. He's got a wife. She is the wife from hell, guys. It was the worst transaction I've had in 25 years, by far the worst transaction, right? I mean, I cut my commission because he's my brother. You know, everything that you could think of. This girl was the worst. So I go to church. I'm asking my pastor. I said, you guys talk about this unoffendable crap. I said, she offended me greatly. Let me hear about it, Mark. So here's the thing. I went through that process. And then, by the way, they come to church and sit next to me after the transaction. Like, it was the worst transaction. They wouldn't even talk to me. I had to go to the transaction just to get them to talk to me, right? So I got to meet these people now at church, and I got to see them face to face with this newfound affirmation, I am unoffendable. This is what my beautiful wife tells me. My friends come over to my house the next day to pick up and borrow my trailer after I got my butt chewed out by his not so nice wife. So he's coming by to pick up my trailer the next day. In my mind, I had some words that I needed to share with him that I did not share at the closing table. So I'm saving these words up. My wife sits me down, and this is what she says. She says, Mark, she said, he's broken. He married a woman. He's been married 4 times. He's married the wrong person again for 4 times. He's broken. You go out there, you hug him, you tell him you love him, and give him your trailer and shut your mouth. Now, I did it.
You got a good wife.
So here's my recommendation for his wife. Just get online, do a little research on female demon names. And rather than saying she's from hell, you can just give her that particular name as your nickname for her, okay? Makes it easier. I was just looking up. Caesar, you've been coming in and out, my friend. What do you got?
So I wanted to close the loop on something we were finishing up with yesterday. And if you could refresh my memory, something about the power of the mind and how and I just wanted to comment, like, if you guys don't know what a placebo effect is, look that up, because that is just shows you the power of your mind. Also wanted to comment on what Brittany was saying as well, which ties in. I also highlight the same exact paragraph she did, but also on the first page, it says, in order to be truly free, we must have the courage to conform to certain disciplines, face our fears, and connect with our true selves. So this had me yesterday as well, making some phone calls. Coach, I was like, had a little bit of reluctance, and I heard your voice. I'm like, what are you afraid of? Like, what's going to hurt? You know, and then like just made the phone call, had a good conversation. I also wanted to comment, and I don't know if this could be maybe a couple books for our list, is As a Man Thinketh. My wife just gifted me that. And I was reading a chapter, one of the pillars in there says energy. And it reminded me of what Brittany says. Like, she was like, that was like the first pillar. And it was like the energy that she got to do things, and she was busy. And as well as, like, once you start in that mode, the laziness is like, you reject that. Like, you feel it's not part of you as well. So I wanted to comment on that, as well as another audiobook I listened in the past is called The Courage to Be Disliked, to comment on what Josh was saying in there, is like that everyone is equal, but not the same. So either even a child to an adult,
they refer to it as not as being equal. We're equal, but we're not the same. A millionaire or someone that's poor, we're equal, but we're not the same. So those were very powerful things that I got. And lastly, I want to comment on what Tom was doing. He says that kicked his ass, right? And there's a guy named Jesse Itzler, I believe, and his theory is to do something different. Forget 3 or 5 things a year, something that will challenge you, like Krav Maga. Like, that's amazing. If people don't know what that is, that's an amazing Israeli defense fighting style, I believe. And that will definitely kick your butt. And his point was, if you do 2 or 3 things like that for the next 10 years, you have like 30, you amass 30 things that you can, these new experiences that you can share with other people, or have, again, tell a cool story at the end of it, if nothing else comes out of it. So I applaud you, Tom, for taking that, because I was thinking of doing like jiu-jitsu and things like and whatnot. So Krav Maga is definitely another one that was on the radar. So applause.
If you want an easier version of Tom's Krav Maga experience, just go play pickleball. Right? You got the 80-year-olds that are just crushing you and the 12-year-olds that are just crushing you. And you're somewhere in the middle of those two, right? Tom, your mic was hot. Did you have something else to add?
I just was saying thanks, but one thing that Itzler did was he hired David Goggins, who's just this ridiculous stud who can run 200 plus miles without stopping, who's his former SEAL, and lived with him. I think it's called Living with SEAL. And it was 30 days of just being abused. And yeah, so it's funny, these classes, they're Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 to 2.5 hours. And Tuesday, last night was good. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be sore. Friday, I'll be glad I don't have to go. And then by Sunday morning, I'm going, come on, I can't wait to go back. It's very interesting. I don't understand it, but I don't want to. I just want to keep going.
Well, that's what I love about all you guys. You have the same attitude every day about this room. By the afternoon, you just can't wait to be back here with Coach Russ, right? It is 11:30. Colleen, do you have a nugget, or are you willing to save it tomorrow? And here's why. I want to stay on chapter 1 tomorrow. We haven't hit. There's a lot of other nuggets in here in chapter 1. Some folks haven't got fully caught up on the content. So are you willing to kick us off tomorrow, Colleen?
Sure.
And Celeste, I see you as fantastic, guys. So, hey, we're staying right here in chapter 1 of Inner Excellence. A lot of additional nuggets on these 9 points on the pursuit of winning. And, of course, at the end of each chapter, they've got the highlights and the questions. Maybe, just maybe, between now and tomorrow, you guys can journal on some of those questions and come back with incredible content to share with the room. So with that being said, love y'all. Glad you're here. We'll see you tomorrow with the